Welcome to Learn English. Ready to improve your English? Here we learn using stories at a slow pace, clearly and enjoyably. Just listen, stay calm, and come along for the ride. Today's story is about ensuring peace in Ukraine. Relationships between some countries were difficult. There was a lot of concern and pressure across the globe. World leaders were searching for answers. They held discussions about ending conflicts. They dreamed of stopping the violence that hurt many lives. Everyone wanted the hard days to be over. People longed to feel safe and return to normal living. The President of the United States spoke out about these peace efforts. He talked about trying to reach an agreement between Ukraine and Russia. He believed peace was still a possibility. He brought up a region named Crimea, which was a major issue. He also explained that speaking with Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky was not always simple. It was more difficult than he had thought. Still, he remained hopeful for a solution. But right after this, a disagreement happened. President Zelensky said Ukraine could not agree to Russia having control over Crimea. The American president didn't like the statement. He said those words made the peace talks harder. He believed they added more tension. Only hours later, something very serious happened. Ukraine's capital city, Kyiv, was hit by a heavy strike. The attack began very early in the morning. People were sleeping when the danger started. The sky filled with missiles and drones. These drones, like small flying robots without pilots, carried weapons. Loud explosions and warning sirens woke people up. It was a terrifying moment for the entire city. This was one of the worst attacks Kyiv had seen in months. Buildings, including apartments where families lived, were damaged. Roads and important places were also hit. At least 8 people lost their lives. Over 70 others were hurt. Emergency workers rushed to 13 parts of the city to help, putting out fires and saving lives. After this event, people were left in fear and confusion. Why did such an attack happen just after leaders spoke about peace? President Zelensky, who was visiting another country, quickly ended his trip and returned home. He said Russia was still harming innocent people. He wanted the world to know the truth. People around the globe worried. Would peace talks stop now? Would more fighting follow? The road to peace now seemed harder than ever. The U.S. President Donald Trump often spoke about the war in Ukraine. He repeated that he wanted peace. He said it was time to stop the fighting. He explained that meetings were happening, with Russia involved in the talks. The goal was to find an agreement that both countries could accept. The area of Crimea caused problems in the talks. Russia had taken over Crimea in the past, but Ukraine believed Crimea still belonged to them. Trump talked about President Zelensky's views. He said Zelensky's refusal to accept Russian control over Crimea made things harder. These strong words, according to Trump, slowed down progress. Trump felt that a deal might only come if some sort of compromise was made about Crimea. He also spoke about his conversations with Zelensky. He admitted they were not easy. "I thought it would be easier," Trump said, "but it's been tougher." Even so, he stayed hopeful. "But that's okay," he added. Trump said the U.S. had already reached a deal with Russia. "We have a deal with Russia," he stated. This suggested they had made progress with one side. Now, he said, we need to get a deal with Zelensky. The focus had shifted to Ukraine's agreement. People around the world listened closely. Would Ukraine change its position? Could peace actually be achieved? Trump's comments showed how difficult and complicated the talks had become. One early Thursday, people in Kyiv woke up to a terrifying situation. Loud sounds cut through the quiet morning. Before sunrise, Russia began a strong attack on the capital of Ukraine. Fear quickly spread as people heard explosions. Russia used strong weapons for this strike. Many missiles were launched. Ukraine's military reported that 70 missiles were used. On top of that, 145 drones were sent. These drones carried bombs and flew toward Kyiv. It was a massive attack. Kyiv is the center of Ukraine's government, making the attack even more serious. What made it more shocking was the timing. Just hours before, President Trump had talked about peace. The attack happened very soon after his speech. This made the strike feel even more powerful and symbolic. It was the largest attack on Kyiv in many months, maybe the biggest since last summer. Earlier attacks had been smaller, but this one was major. It reminded everyone in Kyiv that danger was still near. The sky filled with missiles and drones. The capital was under heavy assault. The relationship between Russia and Ukraine worsened again. People in Kyiv grew even more afraid. Would there be more attacks? The violence damaged lives deeply. It happened while many were still asleep. Loud blasts shook the city. People awoke in fear, unsure of what was going on. Sadly, 8 people were killed. It was tragic news. Many families were heartbroken. Over 70 people were injured, some with small wounds, others with serious ones. Doctors and nurses rushed to help. Hospitals became very busy. The destruction reached many places. 13 parts of Kyiv were hit. Apartment buildings were damaged. Families lost their homes and belongings. Their safe places were gone. Walls collapsed, windows shattered. Everything changed in a moment. Other buildings that helped the city work, roads, bridges, and utility systems, were also harmed. This made life much harder. Dust and smoke filled the air. Debris covered the streets. Emergency workers did not rest. Firefighters battled fires. Medics helped the wounded. Police controlled the scene and kept people safe. For hours, sirens echoed through the city. Teams went to all 13 hit areas, rescuing trapped people and helping anyone in need. The day was filled with sorrow. The damage and pain affected many lives. It was a dark day for the people of Kyiv. News of the Kyiv attack spread fast. President Zelensky was far away in South Africa for official meetings. But when he heard the news, he acted quickly. He decided to end his visit and go back to Ukraine. His country needed him. He spoke to the public with strong emotions. He felt deeply sad for the victims. He said Russia continued to hurt innocent people. He mentioned the numbers. Around 70 missiles and 150 drones were used in the strike. He said Russia wanted to avoid blame, but the world needed to see the truth. The situation was serious and couldn't be ignored. Zelensky explained that Ukraine now needed better protection. He planned to speak with other nations, known as Ukraine's partners. These countries work with Ukraine and give support. Zelensky said Ukraine needs more defense for the skies. Missiles and drones were destroying cities. He would ask for stronger air defense systems. These systems can save lives. They can keep schools, homes, and hospitals safe. They protect cities and give people hope. Ukraine's soldiers were brave, but they needed better tools. The recent attack showed how serious the need was. The damage in Kyiv was another warning. Zelensky wanted help quickly. He said time was short. He might even speak to leaders while flying home. The support of other countries was critical now. He hoped they would listen and help. Making the skies safer was now his top mission. The war in Ukraine was big news in the United States. People watched closely. Many worried about the fighting. Leaders and citizens talked about what should be done. One issue was Crimea. Ukraine said it belonged to them. This caused debate. One American leader, Senator Marco Rubio, had plans to visit Ukraine, but after the large attack on Kyiv, he canceled his trip. He said it was too risky. The situation in Ukraine had become more dangerous. Many other visitors also changed their plans. Safety came first. Back in the United States, lawmakers were busy. They were having big discussions. One of the most important topics was military aid. Some leaders wanted to send more help to Ukraine, more weapons, more defense systems, and more support for the war. But not everyone agreed. Some people were unsure if America should keep helping. They thought the U.S. should spend less money on wars in other countries. They asked questions like, should we focus more on problems here at home? Is it right to send so much money overseas? Still, others believed it was the right thing to do. They said helping Ukraine was about protecting freedom. They said if Ukraine lost the war, it could cause bigger problems for the world. They believed it was important to stand with Ukraine. The American president, Donald Trump, had already shared his views. He wanted to end the war. He spoke about peace many times. He said he had made progress with Russia. But after Ukraine's response about Crimea, peace seemed further away. Now, with the deadly attack on Kyiv, things had changed again. The violence reminded everyone that the war was still very real. People were dying. Cities were being destroyed. Peace was not close yet. Many American leaders said this attack was a message from Russia. It showed they were not ready to stop the war. It also showed Ukraine still needed strong support. The U.S. continued to send weapons and aid. Drones, missiles, defense tools, all these were being shared with Ukraine. But now people asked, would this be enough? Could this help stop future attacks? The world was watching closely. Every action, every word, every missile, these things mattered. The choices made now could shape the future of Ukraine, and maybe the future of the world. The United States has been helping Ukraine with weapons and money, but not everyone in America agrees with this. Some lawmakers, people who make laws, don't want to send more aid to Ukraine. They are worried about the cost. They want to make sure America has enough resources for its own needs first. Russia's attack on Kyiv is seen as a symbol of the long fight between the two countries. Ukraine has been strong, trying hard to defend itself. This attack shows that Russia is still fighting and trying to make things difficult for Ukraine. It also reminds the world of how serious the situation is. Many countries like Poland and the United Kingdom have been helping Ukraine. They are sending weapons, food, and medical supplies. But some countries are not as quick to offer help. This is because they fear the war might spread and become even bigger. Despite these fears, Ukraine continues to ask for more support. Ukrainian leaders hope that with enough help, they can push back the Russian forces. They believe that if they get the right weapons and resources, they can protect their country and its people. The war has been going on for more than a year, and it has caused a lot of destruction. Many cities in Ukraine have been damaged, and people have lost their homes. But Ukraine has not given up. They are working hard every day to defend themselves. Russia's attacks are not just about fighting, they also want to send a message. The attack on Kyiv shows that Russia is not backing down. They want the world to know that they will continue to fight, no matter the cost. The situation is very serious. People around the world are watching closely, hoping for a peaceful solution, but preparing for more challenges. For Ukraine, it is a battle for survival. For the world, it is a test of how much help and support can be given to Ukraine without making things worse.